Hey, all right. Looks like we're live now. Hello and welcome to our little Q&A session and webinar on performance testing for Dynamics 365. I hope everybody can see me and hear me okay. The chat and the Q&A sections are both turned on, so please communicate to us with that. Yeah, the topic today, performance testing. What we'll do is we'll start off and we'll do a little bit of a presentation. I've got Bartosz Spiech here with me. A little bit of a presentation on how we do our performance testing as an implementation partner and also a testing partner as well with our executive automats solution. And so Bart will speak a little bit about that. Before we start, though, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. We've got the chat on, and as I said, this is a Q&A session, and we have a few questions that have already been submitted, so we'll approach those after this short little presentation here. And if you have any other questions at all, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. We'd like to address all of them that we can in the time we have together. I won't take too much more of the time here. Bartosz Spiech is our product manager for our tool called Executive Automats. We developed this tool. We're an implementation partner who developed this tool to help us with our implementation projects. And one of the nice byproducts that came out of it is that we can actually load the system and conduct performance testing with that. So Bart will show us a little demonstration on that today. Again, we'll have the Q&A after this. Feel free to put anything in the Q&A or chat section. We'll get to it. With that said, I'll turn it over to the star of the show, Bartosz Spiech. And Bart, welcome as always. Really always enjoy your presentations. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Jake. Always flattered by the intro. Yeah, it's been a few years since we are doing together with the team these sessions, and yeah, welcome today. We're gonna show you a few findings, few outcomes from the projects. We've prepared also an example. We're gonna do a live performance tests against one of the environments we've got, just to give you a feeling, just to give you ideas what I expect, what are the expectations, what we can get from this, why people are doing the performance tests, in what stage of the implementation. All of those questions, feel free to ask them on the Q&A so we can elaborate. We can also feel what exactly you're expecting from this, because we want to share the knowledge. It's been over a year that we are performing dedicated tests for finance and operations with significant findings. So yeah, let's start it on. The basic thing we're going to start with will be the executive automats, the platform we are utilizing. And I would love to sort of take everybody on the same page. What is executive automats? So we're going to do a simple recording now. The executive automats is the application for test automation originally. And this is our core business. This is something we do day by day. We are helping every company to build their regression plan, to build their smoke tests, which are utilized within the implementation after go live, to keep up with one version of Microsoft. And another portfolio of the projects are dedicated for performance testing. The scripts that you create in executive automats, these scripts dedicated for performance testing, they've got some specifics, they've got some ideas behind. They've got some mechanisms to help out with delays, to help out with some random error messages, which are not critical in the system, but some deadlocks, for example, which are communicated by the system, we have to also handle them to make sure that the process at the end of the day will travel to the end and give us some KPI. So in the application, we've got a script section. These are continuous business processes that you do. Everything, sales, purchases, fixed assets, posting journals, all of those transactions can be recorded as a test case and executed on a daily basis, weekly basis, on demand, etc. So I'm going to record with you a very simple process just to give you the feeling how easy it is to record. And we're going to call this process AR 00102 SO create, just a naming convention to make sure that we are talking about the exact process in a team. And I'm going to use for that Dynamics 46 update. Start and record. We are logging in to Dynamics. We are utilizing one of the virtual users that we've defined in the system. So this side of the process also is handled. You don't need to define multiple accounts and log them in anytime. See that the sessions session is a little bit blocking me. Okay, let me jump into accounts receivable or sales and marketing in that section. Sales and marketing, all sales. And as you see on the right-hand side, we've got a recorder panel, which identifies all actions that you're going to perform. And one of the focuses we've got in mind is the reusability. Reusability and having your test cases clean so they can be reused for multiple purposes, especially then for performance testing. Every selection that you do can be changed. So if I'm going to select customer number 1931 account number, or if I'm going to do some duplicate, I can easily remove the action to keep it clean. I can pause my recording. I can do something in background. I can make extensions. I can merge scripts. If I'm going to record, let's say, partially the process, I'll be able to record later on the subsequent steps. So we can say freezing the business context of the process, so your recording is super effective. Your test case can be also extended by the Excel file. Your test case can utilize elements like number sequences, and the number sequences and the others are key focus for reusability from the usability perspective. Let's say you've got invoice number or product receipt ID that you have to provide for the field. You can use constant values. So anytime you run the process, it will always take the same site or the same product receipt ID. But if you need actual uniqueness of the data, because if you're going to run once process, second time it will simply fail, you are able to utilize elements like number sequence. So then system iterates with the value. It gives you the possibility to run 100 times one process, delivering unique data and actually anonymous data. So we can produce kind of a preset for testing, and for performance testing, number sequences are essential. So we are not caring about data if it is existing on the environment. We are just preloading the preset of the data for consumption, and then we are running against them some processes. So in this case, you've got the sequences. As you may see here, we've got also data sources. This stands for Excel file. So we can build an Excel file. Let's imagine that we've got a sales process which differentiates in 12 different entities by only some values like different items we sell, different site warehouses, different customers. So I can build an Excel file which will contain for every entity different set of the data. And then I can run this script against my Excel file. So I'm going to have 12 iterations. I'm going to have one golden process, which will navigate through all my entities, child entities, to verify if the same process works the same on every entity side. These and much more ideas are embedded. Again, useful in the testing and the performance testing area. But having in mind the session is mostly for performance, this is the advanced code field. And sometimes you have integrations with different systems, with SAPs, with some Salesforce, with some interface, which is just gathering the sales data from different places across the globe. If your interface is available by OData or REST API request, you are able to write down some code. Like here, we've got some example of advanced code, which is taking the customer details. You are able to invoke that on the step. So step in here can click, can select, can type, but also step can invoke. So I am able to invoke number of elements or number of lines of the code, which will perform some actions. leveraging or stressing a bit the environment. So you can keep in mind that the advanced code can be very helpful in that. Of course, advanced code, on the other hand, can be used for concatenations, upper strings, lower strings, taking just fragment of your log, which consists only ID instead of entire entire logs. A lot of things can be provided. So when you've got your process recorded and everything is ready, you are able to simply, let's say, maybe I'm just gonna go here to header as I'm having the line added, and I'm gonna do one more action which is critical from the perspective of the process verification. So let's system change the line viewed header. See that it clicked, but it's not loaded yet. Okay, we've got it. I would like to click sell, confirm the sales, and then gather the status. When you are testing, you are not only focusing only on the actual stability, but also on the results, if the actual status was changed to confirmed or any other that we are expecting. So definition of done of the test case, the expected results of it can be verified with a very simple functionality, which is called here an inspection. I can map my status of the sales, and only if my sales order will be converted to success, to in this case confirmed, my script will success. So document status for me should be equal to confirmation otherwise I would like to claim here a warning message. So verification of status, as simple as it sounds. With that step, I'm checking the result of the transaction. Of course, there's a possibility, thanks to extensions of Dynamics, to get into the table and search for the results if they are actually resisting in sales table, sales line, event trans, or anything else. When you've got your process, you are ready. You are able to switch back to player to play back the process from the beginning. And system will go step by step, repeating all of those elements that we recorded and applying the actual results of it. To focus or to switch back a little bit to our original purpose, the stress test, I'm going to switch back to my environment here. So the same environment. I've prepared for you another process, which is the sales creation as well on update 46. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to schedule a planned execution. In here, the execution as system is going on is done in foreground. You are able to run processes in background. This means that I'm able to tell the system, please run 4 p.m. exactly 4 p.m. 16. I would like to plan my quick performance testing. I'm gonna, we can see stress testing, 25 sales order in Italy against my environment. So activate. Let's wait for the actual execution. We're gonna have also results in here in the history. What is interesting, last execution I was just doing for verification, we had two error messages. If you're gonna go inside, if you're gonna go here, you're gonna see that we've got form run config property recommendation, update conflict, a simple deadlock on the database, but it might cause some troubles with the user that they can't work on one instance. Okay, let me open up the RDP where we've got the backend of the system. And let me give you some clarifications as well. We are scheduling 25 sessions, which in just a few seconds going to be executed. 25 sessions in the real world is a little bit more, because you never expect that when you've got organization which is operating with 25 accountants or 25 sales, they will never work in the same moment on the same forms. So executing 25 sessions in parallel gives you about a 50 plus, around 60 users actively using a system going through a specific path which was defined by the business. So these numbers, even though sometimes it sounds that they are not big, they are simulating the real load of multiple people. Of course, sometimes the person starts the process. If it is left in the middle because they need to do something, they've got a phone call, they have another meeting, they forgot about something. So they were able to, they were not able to continue the process. That's why when we think about stressing the system, we are never running to the maximum what was intended to. Take a look, 25 sessions, and we've got a significant impact on the CPU, and we've got a significant impact on the memory, up to the 75% of the utilization. We can take the numbers up, and from the limitation perspective, the infrastructure we are building for this type of exercises gives us the chance to simulate hundreds or even thousands, over 1,000 sessions in parallel. And I can show you some very nice graph from the LCS. This is one of the nice shots which we had on the environment with 12 iOSs. It was a tier 5 environment, the best what you can get from the FNO. Of course, you can have multiple iOSs, but the tier 5 can be categorized as one of the best performance. And take a look, we were able to drag down most of the business logic iOSs down to 0. So they were not responding, and they actually restarted when we killed some of the processes. We just proved that the load balancing was working not well. And before the client went live, they were able to scale up a bit the infrastructure to verify if this concept, what they picked, is just enough or they need more. And as you see, the batch iOSs were just flat. They were doing nothing. Another environment we had, this was an on-premises. Let me take a look just quickly. Yep. We had to anonymize, of course, all screenshots. These are just an examples. Quite heavy machines, 90 and 96% of 2 iOSs, 2 of them, which supposed to be a business iOSs, as far we were informed, they were not actually occupied. So again, the load balancing was quite bad, and there was a significant difference within the execution where one iOS was occupied with 90% and the other one was in some moments just half occupied. So the distribution of the task was not perfectly done. And on this example, when we are talking about the stress test, was about 270 users for the on-premises. Quite a lot, considering the fact that this was about 160 or 180 in parallel. In here, when I was talking about the performance testing on tier 5, we were aiming at 2 processes executed over 700 users in parallel, which should give us approximately over 1,000 users in the real world. So we proved that this amount is not actually capable for this setup. And with this sort of vision, we are aiming for an assurance for customer sites, so they will simply sleep well when they start the go live. They know that after the go live, they know that they can handle the amount. This is the first point. And secondly, if they are having some assumptions of the growth of the company and possible adding another entity to it, which will significantly increase the usage or the number of parallel sessions, they can plan those milestone exercises of performance testing. So they start go live, they test with 600, they then plan to include another entity. So they plan the second iteration of the test, including more users, and then they verify if the new equipment, if the new added racks, new added servers are meeting the requirements, or the cloud, which will be rescaled, it will be simply good enough. So this is the idea. As you see, after the exercise, system actually is clean enough that it doesn't have anything. this is a just tier 1 or tier 2 environment. If we're going to scale up this up to 70 users, I think this instance, this server can handle 70. We're probably going to kill this environment. So I'll try to see if this is going to be doable. And in the meantime, I'm going to focus on some questions which are coming from the chat to make sure that we're going to answer everything that you are looking for. So 55 in the meantime at 23, 423, and let's execute. The same story we were doing through AX 2009, the same story we were doing for AX 2012. Of course, different infrastructure, different setup, but the same possibility to run hundreds or even thousands of processes in parallel to just see the effectiveness and count some business events which are happening in that. As you're remembering, I was able to set not only I was not able to only to check the stability of the process. I'm also verifying, as we got all successes, if my process has the results, the results are correct. So if my status after actual process is confirmed. So I'm counting the business events which are happening throughout the execution. Yeah, this and practically a lot of more, which will be too much for this session, can be shown to you. If somebody will be more have more specific questions, we can have a separate session discussion as well. But yeah, do you have any questions on the chat?
Sure. I will start reading them in a moment, but just wanted to maybe add that with executive automats, you can actually design and execute these performance tests in a very realistic way, because Bart just showed executing one process with one user, but he also said that this can be many processes, many different users, so you can really simulate the environment, how it will look like on the go live or after go live during the site development cycle of the environment. You can test it very precisely and not just find if the stability is okay, but also find if the processes are working well if you're executing them with a number of users. Because what we actually find quite often during these projects is that if a process is very customized, it may have some performance issues on it when you try to execute it, with 100 users on 500 sessions. So that's something you can also do with EA. I will read out the first question that we actually received from Julio, and that is, our main challenge is volume testing integrations, either data package API, business events, entities exports, or data calls. Is there a way to add them into the performance test case?
If we think about the business events in the same way, definitely yes, as counting some specific actions which we can recognize by change of the status or presence of the insert on the database, definitely. OData, as I showed you the example, yes, you can do that. You can set an execution of particular OData connection. So system can invoke that within one session, and you can duplicate the sessions as well. So you can simulate number of people doing the same. Integrations, again, the same, the REST API. The data entity, that is something which is quite tricky, because we might need to verify how to actually check the performance of that. Maybe by counting the inserts on the SQL, but this is something which goes too deep into the actual infrastructure verification. So we could help with creating the performance scenario which will perform that, but the verification of the actual inserts might need to be done manually from the actual SQL, I think. I hope that helps.
But Julio, if you're live with us, you can confirm if this answers your question. And maybe I can read another one, maybe this time from the live chat. Peter asked if this solution works on premises, for all on premises as well.
Yes. As I shown before, one of the stress tests screenshot was from the on-premises environment. So the only thing is that we need to work with you a little bit more intensively on the hardware setup, because the executive automates needs quite powerful servers to be executed, but not a problem. We are just deploying the executive automates on your end. And we just need to make sure that there are ports open, so we are whitelisted in your network, and then we can plan this activity.
Yeah, on-prem performance tests are definitely more tricky than doing this on cloud, but yeah, it is possible for sure. And we are actually doing such a project right now. A question from Peter, actually two questions. The first one is how we can archive data on D365 FNO, cloud on premises.
Archive data. It depends. That's a very broad question because it depends on the type of the data.
Yeah, and I'm also not sure if it is about performance testing.
Yeah, in example, the sales orders. Yeah, there are a lot of functionalities from the standard which gives you this opportunity to archive data. Backup might be, yeah, we'll need to have a little bit more
Peter,
extensions.
If you're here maybe with us, you can maybe expand a little bit on your question. If you could do that, please, and maybe I'll read the second one. What is the performance of D365 FNO if we are using for public sector and government's client, the number of customers around 100 million plus their transactions monthly?
So what is the performance? Of course, this is up to the setup you've got, and you can have a poor performance and you can have a perfect performance on FNO if you're gonna scale up precisely your environment with the blueprints and these exercises as we are following to simulate number of not even the amount of users which are doing activities, but the amount of the data which is in the database in the system. But we've seen different things on customer sites, whereas non-government agencies, they were having about few 100,000 customers, and the browsing through the customer table, the refresh was taking just a second or even half of the second. Due to the new changes which are delivered by the Microsoft is delivering a lot of features on the system. And there was one feature called the new grid controls, the new way how the data is represented, the new way how data is loaded. Through this change, they've also took the performance of data extraction to the higher level. So if you would like to even extract 1 million records to the Excel file, that's possible from the system to make some Power BI analysis. Power BI actually gives you the possibility to optimize the way how you work with the data. So you don't need to be worried about this type of amount so much. Let me show you the exact description. What we are talking about. Let's read as far as I remember. New grid control, yeah. This is faster rendering, smooth scrolling, and navigation. This is one of the performance elements which was enabled last year, and everybody will be forced to use this from the 31st as a peer program, it will be the 31st of January, and then in March 13 or something, every instance of Dynamics will be moved to the new grid control, which will, as a result, it should intensively increase the way how you load the data on the controls. This is tricky for the test automation because this is a huge pain for test automation, but from the efficiency, it's quite good. Coming back to your question, we've seen multiple instances of the government agencies with 260 entities. There's one company in Canada. Of course, we can't, as it is government, we can't tell the name, but over 200 entities, and they had definitely more than 10 or 50 millions of records, and there was no specific performance issue on the site. There were upgrading to finance and operations that we were collaborating heavily, but they haven't seen any specific problems to migrate and then run on the new FSCM system. This is just about the way how you're going to scale up your environment before going live, and the expectations, what kind of processes you're going to perform in the system.
Thank you, Bart. I hope that answers your question, Peter. Maybe I can read one from the chat again. Steve asked, what is the licensing model for the solution? As a test consultancy, can we purchase a license for use with various customer implementations, i.e. offering testing as a service? So maybe I can answer this one. Steve, I will just follow up with you after today's session, and I'll tell you all about the licensing model and how we cooperate with partners. So that is answered. And another one, this solution from Artlos. This solution is based on Selenium. Artlos is asking if our solution is based on Selenium.
No, we are not based on Selenium. We've got a mixture of different libraries, but this is not Selenium. This is our in-house development, what we're doing. The identification of every element on the sites is done on 3 different ways, and we are just about this year, we're going to be including some more AI-oriented ways of identification of the objects to deliver highest possible stability on the test case execution. But yes, this is not the Selenium one.
Great, thank you. Peter was also asking, I don't know if it's the same Peter, can we test workflow testing?
Yeah, you can. As you saw, and as was Matt mentioning, you are able to change the users, and this is the definition of the script, which is based off 2 parameters: the environment and the virtual user. And the virtual user stands for simply Azure Active Directory account, which has access to finance and operations. So if you're going to set few of those users, you are able to create a test which will start and, let's say, trigger a purchase requisition. And then you switch the virtual user to another account, which will confirm or approve the purchase. And then you log out and log in once again as the person who started, or for another person who will convert the PR to PO and start the purchasing process. So these elements are highly possible.
Great. Adnan was asking, multiple bad jobs can be working on it. I assume this is about schedulers, right? Can you execute multiple schedulers at the same time?
Yeah. This is all about the capacity and the planning. So the executive automats is the set of components which are working, and one of these are our workers. Every worker consumes about 500 megabytes of memory and a bunch of chunk of the processor. So you've got a worker machines or a worker farm which can have which can be hosted on different servers. So you can actually scale up your infrastructure and have capacity of, let's say, 500 users working in parallel, which means that you can have number of schedulers. So in parallel, they've got this 500 capacity. You can plan 5, 3, 4, 10 different schedulers can be executed. they can have different jobs and in it. So yes, you can have multiple schedulers which can be executed at the same moment. So in this case, you can have, as Matt was mentioning, something like a 1 day after go live testing, some simulation of 1 day of the company, how it is done. But of course, this needs to have some presets. You need to have you need to make sure that data is existing. You need to have maybe some scripts to create the presets of data. But that's something to do. That this is something, this activity can simply be done.
Excellent, thank you, Bart. Yarupa was asking how to and what statistics are available to assess areas of improvements or recommendations. I assume this is about performance testing.
Mm-hmm. So on this current moment, we are relying a lot on two factors. The one is the utilization of the hardware, and including that the bandwidth, if it is not stuffed or clunked where we are executing this. Secondly, within those tests, we always ask the client to jump into the environment to feel the way how it works, to grade the system, and maybe even count the seconds, how long it takes to do some elements. So these are factors we are always trying to record and compare. As thirdly, each execution counts the seconds of how long it takes to execute the process. So we are able to take a bunch of the executions and calculate the average time of the execution of particular process. So we see how long system was taking to go from form to form. So elements like posting, elements like saving, where some transactions are triggered. These elements can be quickly outlined because you've got the highest number of times, highest number of seconds consumed for that specific action. What it will come in this year, we're going to have business event counters. So what we want to do, we want to count your events that you are looking for. Even very, I can say bizarre, very, very specific just for your industry. You'll be able to count events and make different statistics on those events. Very simple functionality, and we believe on if EMEA European AX2G Summit will happen on the spring this year, we'll be able to present their statistics and first results from the projects with using the counter of the business events.
Excellent, thank you, Bart. This is maybe I can also you touched on that a little bit, but I can also read out the question from Adnan about whether there are any feature available, any new features available in the future. And Adnan also asked what are some disadvantages of EA?
Disadvantage. Okay. You mean new features like a new versions? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the application, the executive automats, we are keeping the this as the application as a community-driven roadmap. This is the way how we develop the application. So everything that you are telling us, even from those sessions, we are registering in our DevOps, and as a continuous development, we are just reviewing this over our sprint plannings to understand what system, what kind of expectations on the market. Then we are converting this to the functionalities, and our developers are working on that. So normally we are releasing up to 3 versions each year. There are also, of course, some minor versions as well, but we are talking about major releases. We've got also a specific functionality or specific platform for pharmacy, where we've got actually infrequent releases because the cycle of development is simply super crazy and super complicated. But this is just to deliver the highest possible standards, highest possible quality of development, and the evidence, of course, of everything that we do, which is just time consuming. Disadvantages of executive automats. Sure, we could say about that. we are highly focused on finance and operations, and the application has significant potential of being executed against different platforms. Out of the box, you can record a lot on just the website. But sometimes we need to help you with recording rules and methods. If you would like to do something specific on, let's say, customer engagement portal or on SAP Hybris, these elements are we don't know these systems so much. So our proficiency and expertise in finance and operations gave us the chance to create some rules to understand the behavior of the entire application. When it comes to other systems, we don't have that yet. And that's why we are focusing so much on AI and machine learning to make sure that the way how we recognize objects is helping us to be more predictable and bulletproof with the execution of the test cases against systems different than Dynamics. Other disadvantages, I think we are not free of charge. This is probably the disadvantage, which is everywhere. Yeah, I don't have, maybe my friends can share a little bit more, but as a product owner, I can't tell bad things about my kids.
That was good. Thank you, Bart. Another question from Mohammed, and you already touched on this just now. Do you somehow cover D365 CRM performance testing?
So we never say no. As mentioned, in the CRM, we don't work so smoothly as in finance and operations. We don't have so many libraries and the business logic understand it. We can always try. We are doing some baby steps in CRM, and each year we are investing more and more in it. That's why this year we want to focus more on that machine learning stuff, as I mentioned. If you're going to be interested in performance testing the CRM, we can make some collaboration together to see if this is feasible. We need to understand number of processes and amount of users you would like to use, but it's going to be a very interesting project for us.
Excellent. Thank you, Bart. Maybe now a question from the chat from Julio. Can you show us how to set a timeout limit on test in an Azure DevOps pipeline? Not sure if this is viable to show quickly, right? But maybe we can follow up with Julio about this.
Sure, we can have a, if you're interested, we can definitely have, because just 2 minutes, as I see in the this session was planned for 45 minutes.
We just have 1 minute, so maybe we can focus on this just in an email follow-up. We can answer you, Julio. So maybe the last question would be from Steve from the chat, from the questions and answers. Is the reporting interface bespoke, embedded? Do you have any interfaces to ALM or Jira, for example?
We will have for Jira, but currently we don't have that integration yet. Regarding the reports, you mean I guess you mean the outcome, if this is some kind of a integrated and automatically convert to a bug in Jira and so on. We've got this integration with ADO, with Azure DevOps. And this is an element which we are heavily integrated with, including pipelines, including the test plans, test suites, and the bugs creation and dashboards. On the Jira side, we don't have it yet, but we don't see this as a significant task, and definitely we would like to do that. So there is an expectations on the market that we're gonna make more steps on the Jira side. And please let me know if I understand the question correctly.
I think you understood it well. If it's about just the reporting on the performance test, this is all the data you gather from executive automates, from the schedulers and from the script executions. Of course, if you've got the connection with Azure DevOps, then you can also track it there, but probably it will be much easier to track it from EA. And I think this question maybe was also about whether we have some integrations with, let's say, Power BI, where you could easily access all this data and not have to use Excel for this or something. And the question is right now not, but Bart, I think this is coming, right, in the future, sooner or later, an easy way of connecting EA with Power BI so that you can gather all this information, all this data on your script executions and compare and take some analysis of that, right?
Exactly, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, guys. I think we've run out of time. There are a couple more questions, and I think we'll just answer them directly via email. Thank you very much for joining us here. I really appreciate it. Bart, excellent job in answering all these various questions. Jake, thanks for the introduction, and I guess we are all looking forward to the next Q&A session. I think the topic will be something else, but thanks for joining us for the Q&A on performance testing with Executive Automas.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Agnieszka.
Thanks, everyone. Great job, everybody.
Stay safe, and yeah, let's talk again soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.